Cases represent the unit of analysis in your research study. For example, the people you interviewed or the communities you studied. Your project might have cases for people, places, organisations, events, or other entities that you want to analyse and compare. Cases are like containers that hold all the information related to a person, place, or other unit of analysis. You can open a case to see all the information that has been coded there. For example, you could review everything that Mary said, or everything about Harker's Island. When you begin a project, it's a good idea to decide on your units of analysis and plan for the cases you'll need to represent them. Cases can have attributes or variables attached, such as age, gender, or location. For example, you might make a case for a participant called Ken, assign attributes like age and educational level, and then code all of Ken's content at that case. This, of course, you would do if you have, say, multiple interviews or other documents related to Ken's case. So you put all those documents about Ken together. And likewise, everything, all the people that have lived in Harker Island, all their data, all the documents related to Harker Island would go under Harker Island. I recommend you stop watching the video in a couple of minutes, and just go to the web link above. So this would take you to the help within NVivo on cases. You'll be able to look then at, do you need cases, creating cases for different types of data, and then also look and see what help is available to explore cases using queries, explore cases using charts and other visualizations, around case hierarchies, and summarizing cases in a framework matrix. It's a good idea to get used to using the help facility in NVivo because the information is really good and accessible. Okay, so we're going to use the Further NVivo Test Project .mvp, or if you're using Mac, you'll need to choose the .mvpx file. You will see that there are several transcripts available, and we're going to take the one called Margaret and give it a classification. So you'll just need to right-click on Margaret, go down to near the bottom, click on classification, and then go across and click on new classification, new case classification. Once you've clicked on new classification, this window will pop up, and you can either create a completely new type of classification or use the predefined classification. The predefined classifications are organisation, which you'd use about an organisation, a building society, or a person. And in this case, because Margaret is a person, we're going to give Margaret the person case classification. Okay, so having assigned Margaret as a person, as a case, as a person classification, if you look at cases in the left-hand column, you can see cases has been highlighted there. Margaret appears. Okay, so Margaret is a case. There's one file in that case. So say we had several interviews by Margaret, we could add all of those to that one case classification, Margaret. So everything that Margaret had said from different sources, or if there was a document about Margaret that's relevant, we'd put that all within that one case pot. But at the moment, all we have is the one transcript, and we've got that down as one file. There's one reference there as one case classification. And the classification we can see over on the right hand side is the person classification. Okay, so still under cases on the left hand side, on the left hand side menu. If you go under cases, you'll see case classifications. If you click on case classifications, the case classifications that have been used will appear. In this case, that's the person classification that we've given to Margaret. This is an automatic or predefined classification, and under it we have name, sex, age group, occupation, country of birth, and email address. Now, we can use this as a basis, and we can add other attributes. An attribute's a variable. And we can delete if we didn't want country of birth. We can just right click on that and delete. So you can play around with them, or you can use intact and just leave all the variables there. And if they're ones you're not so interested in, just don't complete them. The idea is the person classification is one that you're likely to need often, and so it's been made for you. At least one version of it's been made for you. So these attributes comprise the classifications for the person case. If you wish to delete or add to them, you can. And at the moment, we haven't actually entered any data about Margaret to that person case. We've just set up the classification sheet, but we've not filled that classification sheet in. For instance, we've not given the name Margaret, we've not said Margaret is female, or we've not said Margaret is in the age group 40 to 45, for instance. And basically, it's like we're creating a mini closed questionnaire that we've attached to the Margaret transcript. What we will need to do is to give some responses to that questionnaire, of course, for it to be useful. So the next stage then is to set up the potential attribute values. So in this case, the example here, if we're looking at the attribute of age group, we choose that age group. So there's always unassigned and not applicable. Unassigned and not applicable will be the only values that you see unless you add your own potential values. So for instance, here we might add 20 to 24, 25 to 30, 31 to 34, etc. That's up to you. You choose how many and what's appropriate for your data set. The default is unassigned. You have to add them by clicking on Add with the Values tab highlighted, and it's very easy to do. If you need any help, the link is above, and that would take you to the help from NVivo and tell you all about classifications and how to do this. So the person classification contains a number of variables that are called attributes. It's easy to add to the various attribute values that you want to work with. Just click on the attribute, in this case age category, then click on value and then click add. Keep adding values until you're done and click OK. So that's setting up the answers to the questionnaire about the people in the project. So a closed questionnaire, and the attribute properties are basically the answers, potential answers that we can click on and complete for Margaret. So we're now going to add value, assign a value to a classification sheet. So we'd start by opening the classification sheet, in this case the person classification sheet. And so far we've only assigned Margaret to have a person classification, so we just have the one row. All the values, all the attributes have an unassigned value at the moment. And if you want to change that, basically add in that information, e.g. to age group, we'd click on age group, and then we'd be able to click on the appropriate age for Margaret. So open the classification sheet. To assign attribute values, right-click on the classification that you want to amend. Click on the attribute you wish to complete. Then click on the appropriate value for the case concerned. So we might then click on age group, and then rather than saying unassigned, we'll click on, say, 21 to 24 if Margaret was in the 21 to 24 age group.